Okay, so hello everyone, we're now starting and we'll just wait for people to join. Still just waiting for people to join, thank you. Okay, so it's 3 minutes past, so welcome everybody, good evening and thank you for joining this A64 Improvement Scheme live consultation. The session will be recorded for feedback purposes, but only the presenters and the presentation will be recorded. All attendees will be muted automatically during the event. However, if you would like to ask a question and do not want your name published, you can do so anonymously. After the event finishes, a recording of the presentation will be available in the virtual consultation room for those who missed the event. If we can have the next slide, please. Thank you very much. So this meeting will be chaired by Leeds City Council and presented by various speakers from the Council, from West Yorkshire Combined Authority and from ACOM, the Schemes Design Consultant. And the team delivering the project are here today. So from the Combined Authority, we have Simon Linley, who's the Transforming Cities Fund Programme Manager. From Leeds City Council, we have Yvonne Roberts, the Project Manager at Connecting Leeds, myself, Senior Project Officer, Joe Lapelle, Senior Comms Officer, Becca Dixon and Elizabeth Walker are also attending from the transport team leading on the scheme. And lastly, from ACOM, we have Lauren and Nick from the design team, and Rosanna, Beth and Joanna from the stakeholder engagement team. So just some housekeeping. Before we begin, we appreciate that everyone has different levels of experience using Teams. So we'll just run through a few rules before we begin. If you'd like to view this session in full screen, make sure to click the arrow in the bottom right corner of the screen. You can also select live captions and subtitles in your video controls by selecting the captions and subtitles button, which is next to the settings button. As everyone is automatically muted during this session, if you would like to ask a question throughout the presentation, you can please submit them in the Q&A box in the top right corner of the window, and there's a picture of it on screen. We will be answering your questions at the end of the session during the specific Q&A session. If we don't have time to answer your question today, responses will be posted on the Your Voice webpage by next week, 5th of July. I'd like to now pass on to Liz from the Leeds Transport team to introduce the scheme.
Yeah, so the A64 is a key radial route that carries both long distance and local traffic. It also has a high frequency bus route with more than 30 buses per hour in each direction. and high patronage numbers. It currently benefits from some bus priority measures, including sections of guided busways and bus lanes that was delivered under the Leeds Quality Bus Interventions. But it still experiences congestion during the peak hours, and analysis shows that buses continue to experience delays during these peak hours. There's a number of challenges that are faced along this corridor around sort of current congestion problems affecting bus journey times and reliability. And these delays are likely to get worse along the corridor due to planned housing growth as part of the East Leeds extension. The next slide sort of sets out the scheme aims to address some of the challenges that have been identified through a number of interventions for buses, such as priority at key junctions and improved facilities for those that walk and cycle. So our scheme aims to improve bus journey reliability and journey times, improve accessibility and safety along the route, reduce congestion and improve air quality, encourage sort of modal shift from sort of private car to more sustainable modes, encourage sort of healthier and more environmentally friendly methods of travel, and help achieve sort of the council's commitment to be net zero carbon by 2030. So I'll pass on to Simon Linley at the Combined Authority to present the next slide.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Simon Linley. I'm a programme manager from the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, working on the Transforming Cities Fund programme. So fundamentally, in terms of the Combined Authority, we're developing a 21st century transport system essential to the West Yorkshire Combined Authority's vision of building a strong, successful, zero carbon economy that provides a great quality of life for everyone who lives and works in the region. Providing accessible, attractive and a cleaner alternative to car journeys is at the heart of the Leeds City Region's Transforming Cities Fund, a programme of transport infrastructure investment secured as part of the West Yorkshire Devolution Deal. The programme, which has been delivered by the Combined Authority, is in partnership with local authorities, obviously including Leeds, and is being funded through £317 million from the Department for Transport, plus local match funding of up to £140 million. Communities across Bradford, Calderdale, Craven, Harrogate, Kirklees, Selby, Wakefield, York and of course Leeds are set to benefit from the schemes, which include new or improved bus and rail stations, cycling and walking infrastructure and new park and ride sites as well. The programme is focused on connecting people in the communities of greatest economic need with jobs and training opportunities. This will in turn help boost productivity, living standards and air quality, creating happier, healthier communities for the future. It is estimated TCF schemes will improve journeys by bus, rail, bike and on foot for up to 1.5 million people, take up 12 million car trips per year off our roads and reduce CO2 emissions by car travel by up to 15,000 tonnes. And as you can see on the slide, we've got a couple of other key stats on there. Obviously, I think the key things that in terms of linking into this particular scheme, obviously overall from our TCF programme, looking to increase bus trips by 6%, rail trips by 4% and walking and cycling by 7% as well. So obviously one of the schemes within the programme is the A64 Bus Improvement Scheme, and I will now hand over to Lauren to provide some more details.
Hello. I'm now going to take you through firstly the scheme overview and then some of the main proposal points from the scheme itself. So firstly, I just want to take you through where we have been and where we are now. So first of all, we carried out a corridor assessment across the A64 corridor, and that included data collection. And data collection was done through a number of sources, so site visits, we took some journey time analysis, and we also collected some feedback from the Commonplace Forum. With this data, we then analysed this data, and that identified significant problems and some opportunities along the corridor. And through further engagement with some stakeholders, we produce problems and opportunities plans. And these opportunities were then taken forward to see what we could do to improve them. Next slide, please. From the problems and opportunities, we produce these whole route improvement plans. So these plans show all the interventions that are viable across the scheme, and that is based on location and affordability. From these whole route improvement plans, we then sifted these improvements down again into the feasibility designs. Now, the feasibility designs are the designs that are shown in the virtual consultation room, and the feasibility designs take a little bit step further and show the interventions fully. And these interventions, again, some of them haven't made it through to the feasibility design stage, and that's been based on whether they meet the objectives of the scheme and they provide the required benefits. Next slide, please. So I'm going to take you through some of the proposals in a minute, but just as an overview, this is the length of the scheme here, and it's shown on 18 sheets with the boxes. Each of the colours refers to a different section, and when you go onto the virtual consultation room, you can answer specific questions related to them sections. You can also see all of the 18 plans on the virtual consultation room, so you can see them in full detail there. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to take you through some of the significant parts of the scheme and some of the big improvements across the scheme. So the first one is the bus link. Now, there is an existing guided busway across the corridor, and you've got the one-way section there, which runs from the approach to Hare Hills Lane through to Selby Road, and that's going outbound from Leeds. And then there's a small two-way section between Selby Road and Killingbeck Drive, and that is in both directions, both inbound and outbound. So the scheme proposes to convert this guided busway into a bus link, and that will include the removal of the channel, which gives it the guided element, and also will be widening this, and that will make it more accessible to all buses. As part of this, we've also recognised that we don't want buses to get stopped behind buses in bus stops or stuck if a bus breaks down. So we are providing bus bypasses past where there is bus stops in the link, and this will allow buses that aren't stopping to bypass buses that are stopped in the bus stops. And there'll also be breaks in the segregation to allow buses to get back into the main carriageways if another bus breaks down in front of it. Next slide, please. So in terms of the interventions that we are doing at the Hare Hills Lane A64 junction, in terms of the bus priority, there will be buses that are travelling outbound. They will be expected to be in the guided busway, sorry, the new bus link, and we will be providing a new bus gate inbound. And this bus gate will ensure that buses are at the front of the queue as they travel inbound towards the city centre. We'll also be improving the whole junction and improving the traffic signal control at this junction. As part of that, we will also be removing the pedestrian footbridge that is there existing, and in order to make that happen, we're going to provide segregated pedestrian and cycle crossings across the whole junction, so on all arms of the junction. Next slide, please. So we're now going to have a look at the Killingbeck Drive, Oak Tree Lane area. So in terms of the bus priority provided between the Killingbeck Drive junction and of the A64 and to the Foundry Lane Crossgates Road roundabout junction, there will be limited physical bus priority in these sections, and that's just due to the constraints of the network. So in order to provide bus priority across these sections, we'll be looking to gate traffic and provide priority to buses at Killingbeck Drive going outbound in this location. So buses will be gated on approach to Killingbeck Drive, and and they will be given priority over the general traffic. Again, at this junction, we'll also be improving the traffic signal control, hopefully to give benefits to all motor traffic. There will be some changes to the Killingbeck Drive layout, and these changes will be to improve the crossing facilities for both pedestrians and cyclists, reducing the number of crossings it takes for them to get across Killingbeck Drive, and hopefully then improving the journey time and the quality of that journey as well. Next slide, please. So as I just mentioned, between this Foundry Lane, Crossgates roundabout and Killingbeck Drive, there is limited potential for physical bus priority. Therefore, we will be introducing a new bus gate at this junction on the A64, and it will be outside of the current roundabout. This bus gate will also have a bus lane on approach to the junction, and to ensure that buses can get past any queuing traffic that is there waiting at the bus gate. And again, this will give buses priority across the section through to Killingbeck Drive, where the physical bus priority picks up again at that point. Again, this junction will be improved. The traffic signal control will be improved again at this junction. For cyclists here, there is we are looking to provide some more cycle facilities, off carriageway cycle facilities between Somerville Green and Foundry Lane, and that is to enhance the current scheme that is already on the ground for cycling in this area. Next slide, please. At the A64 York Road junction, this is currently a priority control junction, and the proposals look to signalise this junction and provide it with better traffic signal control as well. And the reason for doing this is currently buses coming out of York Road onto the A64 to go into the city do struggle to get out and can get stuck in the middle. So it's predominantly to improve the safety and also the reliability of the bus journey times and them getting out here onto the A64. In order to do this and to put this signalised junction in, we are going to have to close the access to Inglewood Drive from the York Road area. However, we have looked at putting in the new access from the A64 directly. And as part of this proposal, new signalised crossings for both pedestrians and cyclists can be installed across York Road, which again improves pedestrian and cyclists' journey times and the quality of their journey along this link. Next slide, please. Looking out now at the outer ring road, so outside of the outer ring road towards Belden Drive, this section of York Road has a number of different proposals. So firstly, we'd be looking at introducing an inbound bus lane on approach to the outer ring road. This bus lane again will be to try and get traffic across onto York Road near Seacroft and then down onto the main A64 corridor. For cyclists, the proposal is to include a new segregated cycle lane outbound from the outer ring road, so connecting to the current facilities at the outer ring road and going all the way to Belden Drive and linking into new and existing cycle facilities at Belden Drive to help plug a bit of a gap in the cycle facilities in this area. And again, it's similar inbound, so from Belden Drive to the outer ring road, and these proposals will include some segregated cycling and also some off-road cycling or quiet ways cycling, so not along the main corridor but along some of the side roads. Next slide, please. As part of the scheme, we've also looked at a potential new park and ride site, and the location of the park and ride site is near Winmore Grange, and the dot on the screen there shows you the location that we are looking at. We are in the early stages of development here. The site is currently being selected for the potential demand, access requirements, along lots of other environmental factors that we've looked at as well. We are looking at proposals for this site at the moment, and there'll be more information on this to come. I'll now pass over to Liz, who'll take you through the next steps.
So the next slide just outlines what the next steps for this scheme will be, and that how the input from the public consultation will be used to inform the development of the scheme proposals. So obviously the consultation was launched on the 21st of June and runs for 5 weeks online until the 25th of June this year. And then following further feedback, we will sort of review the designs and then submit to the Combined Authority in September 2021 for their approvals process. And then further separate consultation will follow on the park and ride element sort of in autumn winter of 2021, and then further approval process will follow from the Combined Authority on the park and ride element in sort of spring summer 22, and then the construction period for the corridor element is due for winter 2022 to summer 2023, and I think there will be further opportunities to input into the designs and further consultation opportunities as the scheme sort of develops, and also for the park and ride element as part of the planning process. And I'll pass on to Yvonne Roberts now for the FAQs.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So we've got a question in the Q&A at the moment. Will the busway still be in the middle of the road? So I think that was the first section that you looked at, Lauren. Do you want to take that question?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that question. So the guided busway is obviously currently in the middle of the road, and the bus link is just the conversion of that guided busway, so it will stay in the middle of the carriageway. The reason that we've decided to do this is because we want to make best use of the infrastructure that we already have, not implementing new infrastructure or moving the infrastructure, which can be extremely costly. So yes, it is still in the middle of the carriageway.
Okay, thank you, that's great. So another question, how is the A64 Improvement Scheme linked to other transport projects in Leeds? Rebecca, are you okay answering that question?
Hi, yeah, that's fine, I can take that one. So yeah, we're quite aware that there's quite a lot of separate schemes being progressed within the East Leeds area, particularly. I think obviously many people will be aware of ELAW, which is currently on site, and East Leeds Extension, which is the housing development there. There's also a few other schemes coming forward. I think it's just to flag really that, you know, it's a package of measures that we're looking at in order to progress our sort of transport strategy aims across the city, but also that we are mindful of coordination of works in terms of minimising disruption during construction and that kind of thing. So we are working with other teams across Leeds City Council to get that coordination in place. And it's probably also worth flagging that there are subsequent phases of public consultation that are due to be progressed. Clearly we've got the one that we flagged around the park and ride coming forward later this year, but there will be other opportunities for public consultation on the other schemes in due course.
Okay, that's great, thanks Rebecca. How will, we touched on this a little bit, how will disruption to travel be managed during construction?
Yeah, I can
Liz?
take that one.
Sorry, thank you.
No, it's all right. So I think with traffic management, so all traffic management will be agreed with our network management teams, and sort of may involve sort of off-peak working and nighttime working where appropriate to kind of minimise travel disruption.
Okay, thank you. A question on the park and ride. So how did you choose the park and ride site, the site location itself for this scheme?
Yeah, I'll take that one, Yvonne. It's Rebecca Dixon again. So as I say, just to reiterate that although the park and ride isn't the main focus of this consultation, we will come back later in the year to have a bit more of a discussion around that. But we thought it was worth sort of flagging up sort of how far we have progressed in terms of that scheme, and just to indicate the preferred location that we're currently looking at. So as Lauren touched on earlier, That site that we're currently looking to progress is at Winmore Grange, adjacent to the Arium site. So we did have quite a long process to get to this point, a long list of potential sites across the city, and sifting those down really to a short list based on several key criteria. So looking at the proximity to and access to the A64 corridor, because it's obviously clearly linking in with the corridor works that we're doing here. Looking at that potential forecast demand and where that demand may be coming from as well. And also linking into that the access to the site for local journeys and that potential to intercept the more strategic and longer distance journeys. We've also reviewed in terms of the capacity of the site, what kind of size of car parking we could put onto that site, the environmental considerations and constraints, and also the journey time into the city centre to make sure that that's an attractive and viable park and ride opportunity there. So as I say, there's still quite a lot of work to do. We're in the very early stages, but we're just keen to sort of get some initial feedback really on that appetite for a park and ride on the A64.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Just to reiterate that we will be doing further consultations on that later on in the year. Another question, quite a lengthy question, so you just have to bear with me while I read it out. So why don't you just flatten it and have 6-lane road with no central reservation and have dynamic signs similar to what's on the A38M in Birmingham? So you have 4 lanes at peak journeys and 2 lanes in the opposite direction, and this will add more resilience as you can set lane 1 bus only, 2 HOV, motorbikes, etc. So I think Lauren and Nick are going to probably answer this between you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll start. Predominantly the reason that this isn't an option is due to cost. So it was one of the options, but we've looked at all the options originally, so it was one of the opportunities that we looked at, but however it has been sifted out, and that is based predominantly on the budget for the scheme. There is also some safety concerns. There's a lot of pedestrians in this area, a lot of cyclists as well, so it's not particularly a motorway. So we have to consider the safety of the cyclists and the pedestrians when they're crossing the road, and there's things like that do come into consideration, as it's much more of a city centre location and not specifically a motorway.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Is there anything additional to add to that? I think Nick, did you want to add anything?
No, I think Lauren's really answered the question. I think, yeah, it is primarily down to the funding, but we did sort of think about it. There is that safety angle. I think the A38 scheme's been in a little while, and you've probably all seen in the press the debates around smart motorways and starting to use technology, and I think there's definitely a spotlight on using the highway in that way. But you know, primarily it is down to the funding that Lauren has already covered.
Okay, that's great, thank you. So next question, how does the construction and how does the construction of and retention of guided bus lanes reduce congestion and pollution? Lauren, are you okay taking this one?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. So the first point I think is that we're looking to move all the buses onto the guided busway, the new bus link, which will hopefully reduce the delay to all buses, putting them into that bus link. The way that it's going to affect general traffic is that we're not going to be putting in extra bus priority in this section, so we're not going to be putting a bus lane in on the near side, then reducing it to 1 traffic lane and then the guided busway as well. So by converting the guided busway, we're not making it any worse for general traffic, so we're not going to be putting in additional bus lanes that cause more congestion and more pollution.
Okay, all right, thank you, Lauren. We're getting a couple of park and ride questions, and because we're going to do the consultation on the park and ride later on in the year, we're just suggesting that we put all these together and put them into that next consultation. But obviously, if anybody does have some questions, do put them forward and we'll take them into the next consultation, if that's okay. We have another question. Oops. Why why are we putting cyclists over drivers? So I don't know who wants to take this question from the panel.
I can. I can take this one. So I didn't see that one pop up. I don't think it's a case of necessarily putting cyclists before drivers. I think a lot of thought has been put into trying to provide a network that allows better facilities for more sustainable modes. Obviously, bus priority being one of those, and enhancing the corridor that has already been installed in terms of the cycle superhighway along that route. But I think, as Lauren mentioned in the presentation, there's a very deliberate move to make best use of that guideway down the middle of the A64. So we are retaining as much capacity for drivers as possible. However, there is definitely that drive to promote more sustainable modes. Again, people will have seen it in the press, that the need to tackle obesity and reduce our carbon footprint, and all of those different arguments that demonstrate why we need to give people the choice, not necessarily forcing everybody out of their cars, but allowing people to make the decision that sort of suits them.
Okay. That's great, thanks Nick. Will the scheme include the planting of trees and other green improvements? So Lauren, are you taking this one? Thank you.
Yeah, that is fine. So the scheme does include some green improvements, and these improvements are predominantly in the areas where we are making changes. We're not looking at areas where we're not making changes along the corridor, and I think the big green improvements will come in when we start to look at the park and ride site in more detail.
Okay, thank you. Another question just coming in. Oops, sorry, it's just clicking on my thing. Will there be a pedestrian crossing from Stockheld Lane to the park and ride site? So it's going into detail again about the park and ride. Are we okay just answering that?
I can take it and try and roll it
okay.
up into one. Again, going back to the presentation, the park and ride is on a slightly different programme to the corridor, so there's no certainty around the design yet. However, the work has started, and we are looking at whether the need for pedestrian crossings across the A64, accesses to businesses, how best to provide the access to the park and ride site to service park and ride buses and service buses. So there's an array of factors we've got to take into account, but pedestrians are definitely high up there on the agenda.
Okay, right. One more question, and it is another park and ride one, sorry. What local road improvements will be made around the new park and ride site? Again, Nick, I think this is for you.
Yeah, that might be C previous question.
Yeah.
Again, we're very much at the early stages on the park and ride site now. We've got the preferred option, but it's primarily going to be focused on providing an access into the park and ride site. But yeah, we are mindful of the potential need for improvements to improve the access to the businesses that are sitting along the same section of the A64. And again, going back to the need for pedestrian crossings, sort of tied into the bus stops that are already present in that area.
Okay, that's great. I think there's any more questions coming in for a moment. Okay, that's great. Thank you, panel, for all the questions. Any more that can be submitted, we will take and publish on the website afterwards. Thank you. So I'll back onto the presentation, I think. Liz, yeah.
Yeah, so this just basically sets out how you can sort of engage and put forward your ideas. So there's the virtual consultation room that sets out all the presentation slots that have been here, and provide feedback there. And then I'll pass over to Kat now to present the next slide.
Okay, thank you. So you can have your say on the proposals some various ways. So we've got a survey, and you can ask us questions on the Your Voice webpage, and the address is there. You can also contact us. I think we've got another question. You can also contact us via email at yourvoice@westyorksca.gov.uk. You can phone us on 0113 245 7676 or via post at that address there. So thank you. Thank you to everyone that has joined us tonight at the consultation event. The consultation will close on the 25th of July. So please send us your feedback using the methods just outlined, or get in contact to let us know your thoughts on the proposals. This presentation will be available in the virtual consultation room if you'd like to watch it again at another time. Thank you very much.